back in the day, it was way harder to connect to YouTube. Like I had to download like a third streaming service that
Oh,
the gamers use. Now it's easier, but it's still not seamless.
no, it's quite complex.
Third streaming service. All right, there we are.
Awesome. Yes, I see it live on YouTube.
It's about to
Yeah, there you guys
Already
are. Hi.
Hi.
All right, perfect. So let's get into some proper introductions here. Thank you guys for being here. Hey, Preet, welcome. So tonight on YouTube for the 1111 fun portal that people like to talk about. Hey, Julie Vet, Luna, Kindred. So I emailed my list so you guys know before I went live to be like, I'm going live with these two. Come if you can. So I have special guests on this evening with me, Lee and Sherry. They are twin flames, and they are in union, and they are amazing twin flame coaches, relationship guides, and they are also the creators of Relationship Reinvented. Relationship Reinvented is, can you guys talk a little bit about that before we begin? I'll show you.
Absolutely. So, oh gosh, I guess about 2012, 2013, somewhere in there. We were writing. We started a blog, and we were talking about this connection. And at that point, we were going by our pen names, Lois and Clark. Yeah, gee, somebody here's got a Superman thing. But anyway, we won't get into that. We were writing on there, and we kept really kind of going back into this thing that when we were in 2011, we were laying in bed one night. We were talking about relationships, and we were talking about how we really understood relationships better than we ever had. And it just became like we were just laying in bed, just talking about it. Mm-hmm. And we just went under the names, and I think we started Relationship Reinvented, the group in Facebook.
Yeah.
And started going into different groups, and we're talking to people, and people started coming into Relationship Reinvented because we were just talking about some really simple things, but very complex things. What I mean by that is sometimes the mind gets involved when it comes to your heart, and it likes to tell you or dictate to you what things mean, how things show up. So that was kind of the birth of Relationship Reinvented. And then when I think 2013, we actually decided to just go ahead and name the blog Relationship Reinvented. And we had probably, at that point, we probably had about 170 blogs between us. Mm-hmm. And now it's over 300.
Yeah, we write a lot.
Yes, we were writing a lot back then. So everything you can find will be under the blog section about us. Sherry ended up creating Root Camp, which was the birth that came from our connection, but it was something Spirit actually handed to her. She woke up one morning and just decided to write out 11 questions. You wouldn't think 11 would be significant, but 11 actually is. Mm-hmm. And here we are in 11:11 talking about 11 questions, but it really kind of blew into this really beautiful thing, because here we were, two people who were connected, trying to figure out what the hell this was, because we could feel and experience things from each other that just was supernatural. You know, she could taste what I was eating. I could feel when her tummy was going on. I could feel like when she had a headache, or it's just weird things that kept going back and forth. All of them were related more into the body than they were to the mind. So we started really kind of looking around to try to figure out what this was. And I think you had found Twin Flames.
Yes.
Because
I was intrigued, but like,
right. But it was kind of like, okay. So we kind of looked for who was probably out there that would be able to tell us a little bit more about this, because we couldn't understand what we were going through. We just thought we were one of a kind. I guess that's the way it feels.
Yeah, we
right?
thought we were the only ones going through this at that point in time. All the separation, the push and pull, and the conflict, and the I hate you, I love you, right at the same in the same sentence. Trying
to get rid of somebody out of your mind, but couldn't do it. You know, why am I still thinking about this person? Why does this person keep showing up? Why do I want to hear from this person? What is it about this person? It seemed like it was just never ending questions. But then there was also this beautiful part to it. It was just beautiful. Just to look at it was breathtaking to me. And I didn't understand what this was. And I don't think she understood any more than I did. So we started Relationship Reinvented, and we were doing it through pretty much people who wanted to talk to us back and forth through email, and then eventually it became in front of Skype or FaceTime and we just didn't. We kind of knew what they were looking for, but we kind of said, you know what, maybe we just need to tell it like it is. So that's our YouTube channel, which actually we started in 2014, right?
Yep.
And that took a long talk because I wasn't ready for it. We were kind of split in the two. And then we decided, you know what, let's just tell our story, which will be found under the playlist under Journey. And literally our journey, we
probably very similar to yours.
Yeah.
Our journey is 26 episodes, and we start from the very beginning of our connection. And I mean, it was just one thing after the next.
So I want to just put in a quick plug for the Our Journey playlist, because that's really how I found you guys, is listening to the videos in this playlist, trying to understand what I was going through and what I was dealing with in my twin flame journey. And the information that the two of you share about what you went through, how it felt, the level of detail about both what people like to call the 5D experiences, and then what people talk about as happening in the 3D world, the fighting, the getting married to other people, the divorcing, the separations, the parental passings, and all of the things that happen in the physical world that can sometimes feel like the connection becomes more complicated. You guys found a way to navigate both worlds and come together, I guess you could say, in both worlds. So the reason I invited the two of you on, one of the things I loved about, the work I've done with you guys and what I see you guys doing with other people is that, in the world of twin flame conversations, there's so much woo woo. There's so much people, we can get so fascinated and intrigued by the ways that
Fluff.
the connection just, yeah, you call it the fluff.
Call it fluff.
Yeah, but the connection just, it inspires so like a deepened spiritual alignment for people.
Yeah.
And that
I want to take a really hard pillow and fluff it up.
Yeah. Right. And so, but the fact we can get fascinated to that, to the point of exclusion of the work that has to be done in the physical world around our own growth, our own connection to ourselves, our own remembering of who we are, and feel like it's all, healings and readings until our twin comes home. And you two have shown shown so often and in every video that is just not what this is. And so part of why I invited you on was because I was seeing a pattern on my channel, in the comments, and with people in my readings. And I knew that with this particular full moon, that the energy was just so grounded. And it's just time for practical, grounded conversations about this. No, you can't just transcend past the 3D into the 5D or 11D unless you want to drop the body. Like, you really actually have to do the work on the ground in the body if you want to see a grounded in the body physical union of some sort happen. So, and I have yet to have seen anyone capable of carrying that conversation in such a practical way other than the two of you. So that is why I have invited you on. I've created a set of questions, but for those of you who are listening in, here's how we're going to do this evening. I'm going to share the questions, and then after those questions, we'll have open Q&A, and then Lee and Sherry throughout will kind of talk about any of the programs or services that they have that you can take a deeper dive if you're recognizing something that they're saying as, oh, yep, that's an area I'm ready to work on, or that's something I need. They'll talk about how you can get support with them to kind of deepen your journey. So that being said, why don't you just really quickly, I posted in the chat comments how people can find you, but if people are already hearing things that resonate for them and knowing like, I need to figure out what my next step is, what is the immediate action they should be taking as they're listening?
You can go over to our website, which is www.relationshipreinvented, all one word, relationshipreinvented.com, and that'll get you a good start. Also, our YouTube channel is a good resource as well. It has all the contact information on it as well. This is our website here. Over here under which you click on, there's some contact. What we offer on down is our pricing, some of our packages, the root camp information, that kind of stuff there. We do have multiple Facebook pages. Twin Flames, Lee and Sherry. We have a work group, a Twin Flame work group in Relationship Reinvented. That's it. Twin Flame work group by Relationship Reinvented. We're in there. We're in Facebook. The group is a very positive group.
Yeah, it is.
If the negativity comes in, the negativity goes out. We keep a very peaceful Zen group, and we have some of our coaches in there. And our coaches, when we're not available and online, to be able to answer some questions, our coaches are in there monitoring and answering questions as well. We train coaches to actually do what we do as well. So we have them in there. A lot of support in that group, in any of those groups. The Twin Flame work group by Lee and Sherry. Yeah, and then Lee and Sherry group. That's just a page.
Right, but Relationship Reinvented has its own separate group.
That's right.
For singles, for people who may not be as spiritual.
Yeah.
The Twin Flame support group, just to give you a heads up, is really pretty much based on, you don't need anybody to judge you. You're already judging yourself in this kind of connection. So you need to have a space where you can feel free to go in there and actually release some things that you're going through, talk about some things that are difficult for you, and feel like you have space where you're essentially supported. You're not beat down or somebody telling you that you're not connected to this person.
Yeah.
We see a lot of that, and we wanted to create a safe space where people could go to, where they could actually talk and feel support. Support often comes from those that understand that not everybody's story is the same. And in this connection, it's really not the same. Some of the variables may be the same. What you're actually individually going through is a new space for you. So not feeling like you can like talk to family and friends and those, most people would look at you and tell you you're crazy. Well, you are crazy because you found this connection, but that is a significant thing, not a bad thing. What ends up happening is you end up talking yourself out of the connection because you don't feel like you can open up and share it with anybody. So we kind of found a space where you can go to where that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. We're very non-judgmental. We already suffered enough under our own judgment. The last thing you need is somebody judging you when you find this connection. But you do need somebody who can help you understand connection. So we also have a secret group, which we actually are running right now, where we're doing 90 days to connection and to union.
90 days connection to union.
Yes. And what we're doing
may not mean what you're thinking.
Right. What we wanted to do, because Spirit told us, we have to be very clear what is connection. Because what can happen is all of the variables and all the understandings of connection have gotten so far away from nature, we've all lost our way. Nature's been the one thing that we should always go back to when it comes to this connection. It's not something that's easy to do, but once you see it very plainly, you'll understand why your connection is responding to you the way it is. All this connection is doing, for the deepest part, is showing you your connection to yourself. And that's the toughest part, because you want to go out there and find out what your twin is doing. You want to know what they're up to. You seem so focused on them, you give very little energy to yourself. And at some point, you kind of put them responsible for the connection to yourself. But this is something that we've lost our way in, and we decided that nature and going back to the basics will help you to understand what connection actually is. So she created this program. It's 90 days. We have some people in there now that are going through it, and they're saying to us, if nobody's showing this, nobody's talking about this, nobody's saying it this way, but they're getting so many aha moments from it because it's just eye-opening. Your connection has been predetermined by your connection to yourself. That's why this connection is so hard to navigate, because did you go to school to learn connection? Did you go to school to learn how to have relationships? Did you go to school to learn to communicate with those you're connected to? None of that's available. So it really kind of makes it hard to communicate or understand what kind of communication you have to have with the person you're connected to.
Right on.
It took me a minute. I didn't trust telling her the truth about a lot of things, because we're in here a majority of our lives. We're not in here feeling like we can share anything and everything with anyone. So when she created this, I was like, oh, wow. Because you put this along the side of root camp, where you actually, root camp is, you want to give a really simple way of understanding root camp?
Oh, man. It's starting from ground zero.
Okay.
From the very first thing you can remember ever. We get to know you better than you know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You tell us everything. We're here, we're listening, and we can, the program shows you why you act and react the way you do.
Yes,
and all the scenarios that happen in your life, your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle, your grandparent, all those things, why you react to certain things this way and certain things that way, the reason why you feel that way about this and you feel that way about that.
Mm-hmm.
It just shows you why.
And for a long time, we kept hearing that this connection was supposed to be here to try to go through and rewrite how relationships are handled, rewrite how families are done, rewrite everything. But how do you find a way to rewrite anything if you're in the middle of your own story? And sometimes your story is the issue, because there's a lot of things that you're telling yourself and a lot of belief systems we can actually isolate in the root camp process. We can actually tell you what your belief systems are and give you an option or choice to see that you could choose something different. It's not about what's happening outside of you. It's basically what's happening inside of you. And somebody taking the time to listen to those things that you're saying, and then listening to the ways that you either abandon, betray, or reject yourself, and among other things that you're doing, we actually do find ways to put you into healing. Root camp can be used, of course, for healing addictions. It can help to heal childhood wounds that you didn't even know were even there. It's been really done. It's really been something that we've gone so deep into. I think that I think we're just still scratching the surface of a lot of different depth that you could have. So if you want to see your connection to yourself before you see your connection to your twin, root camp is the way to go. Because
that's great.
You don't know what you're reacting to or what you're triggered by until you actually go in deep to understand where it's coming from. The person you're connected to brings it out of you, but they're not responsible for it. You are. Does that give clarity?
Yes, it is wonderful. So I just want to pause and thank the two of you for being here, and for all of our viewing guests. It's great to have you all here on 11/11. I'm going to go ahead and get into our 6 questions. Please, if you haven't already, like this video and subscribe to Lee and Sherry's YouTube channel, because that's when you'll be able to, watching them will really help you start to understand some of the concepts that they're breaking down tonight. There will be a live Q&A portion at the end, so stay tuned for that. I think we just got through the first one, intro who you are and the business you run and how people can find you. So the second question I have is, what are some of the highlights and lowlights on your journey toward coming together? I think what I was looking for when I wrote this question is, there are people who consider their personal experiences so extreme. And and I, having watched all of the our journey playlists, I'm like, oh honey.
Really? You did us like that?
Interesting. We haven't yet. We've never watched it on
Oh,
purpose.
because you don't need to relive it. Y'all were there.
We lived it again, recording it.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I have a quick question for you. You said that you were listening. Were you watching or listening? Because I have a question if you were just listening.
I did a combo of both. There were some
Okay.
videos I would walk down the street to so I could pay attention, and then I would just listen as you guys talk to me.
When you're listening, can you feel? I know when you're watching, you can see the emotion because there's crying and there's pain and there's hurt. You can see it in our faces. But when you're listening, can you feel the emotion?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's absolute.
sorry about that.
The headlines. there are a couple of interesting headlines from you guys' journey. So if you want to give us some of the headlines and just give us a flavor of where the places one can go on this journey.
Let's see. Let's make sure that we cover all the bases without everybody's covered here. We met in 2005. I disappeared for 2 years. You probably have some viewers that have had that happen where they just
check.
I came back. I was kind of standoffish, but at the same time, I was trying to just, figure out what the heck this was. But at the same time, I was ready to end my own self.
Mm.
So it felt like Christmas morning every time I saw her. It literally was just like we could just be lost in each other and time did not exist. She ends up marrying somebody else because she gets pregnant after I tell her she's pregnant because I felt the conception. Then they go off and they're married for 2 years.
We were together 2 years, so we were married about a year.
So anyway, she ended up getting pregnant and having another child by somebody else and went away. Mm-hmm. Anybody else out there have that happen?
I can add some things.
Oh. I wasn't finished. I thought you was going to. That'd take the next 30 minutes if you want to go there. But I'll just wrap mine up real fast. So anyway,
you're probably going to say what I was going to say anyway.
We finally come together, and there's this big, huge change and shift in everything. But at the same time, everything is still in chaos. Because chaos would be when you're trying to merge two energies in the same space when the energies are really kind of resistant to that space. In other words, I had this nice peaceful space where she could come to, and she had this chaotic space that she didn't want me in. But at some point there was a merge, and that merge caused all kinds of stuff because she literally felt like it was just too far out of control. And I started to feel what out of control felt like. What did I get?
Yeah, and then what?
And then the lies, the deceit, the deception showed up. And once those came out, it became final, and we finally separated as a final way of just leaving each other.
Yeah, we'll get to that when we get to this one question.
Yes.
Before that, I want to just kind of say some words that described our journey.
Oh.
I'm just going to use words.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
And it was beautiful.
Okay.
There was teenagers. There was there was 2 marriages. There was children involved. There was a child between us involved. Mm-hmm. There was jail. Mm-hmm. There was prison. Mm-hmm. There was womanizing. Hey. There was cheating. There was escorting. There was stealing. There was hatred. There was love. There was a push and a pull. Mm-hmm. There was telepathy. There was overwhelming attraction. There was differences in opinion.
Mm.
There was manipulation, deceit. There were, you're right. I could take 30 minutes because there was so much. It was a beautiful disaster. It is a beautiful disaster. I can't say was.
No,
We're still in union,
it's
folks.
just now we
But-
see more of the
right.
beauty than the disaster.
And we've mapped out how to handle certain scenarios the way they come our way.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a really, really, really rough. There was drugs. There was alcohol. There were deaths in the family. There were, I could keep on going, and I'm sure a lot of it sounds familiar. Just
At the center of it all, to sum it up, there was pain. Not just her pain, my pain, our pain. There was just the encompassing energy of pain for us to birth from, but we didn't see it that way at the time.
And I believe that only other people who are experiencing this will understand how beautiful that pain actually is. Yeah, it just is beautiful. And when you look back on it, it's almost like a woman looking back on how torturous the childbirth was and how we forget about it once we're holding the child and how beautiful that journey was. 9 months of a hell and swollen feet. I mean, take the pregnancy symptoms and put them with the journey symptoms. Swollen feet, headaches, backaches, gotta pee, can't sleep. It's the same
hormones,
thing.
Overdrive.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same list: cheating, womanizing, lying, deceit. It's all torture. It's all hell. And then the big pain comes. Big pain, and then you forget all about it. You forget all about it.
Because love actually is on the inside of pain, not away from it. Childbirth will tell you that.
So profound. I'm sure you guys probably have the comments rolling, but there's a couple people who said that this is making them laugh. It's so real. Thank you, Sacred Journey.
Well, she's the humor of us, and she makes sure that it stays lighthearted because I sometimes go too deep, but she's the funny one.
It's a balance.
I can be funny, don't get it wrong. But
Now that was fun.
Let's see.
We have Marie K saying this is so amazing. Inner Goddess Awakening. This is beautiful. So yeah, you guys, those of you who are listening, you get it. You get it. So thank you guys for sharing that. If you want to go deeper on exactly what it was, because you're seeing resonance, there are journey playlists on their YouTube channel. Will help you understand for sure what they're talking about and who these two are and their big, beautiful hearts. So third question, how many times did you believe it was over before you actually came together?
I was literally trying to count when you were answering the first question.
How many?
I'm gonna look. What was it?
How many did you get to?
I don't remember. Is it Friends that's like? Oh, it is. It's Friends episode with how many towels does she have? Fancy. If you're counting that.
11.
Yes.
11.
Imagine that. Monica had 11 towels.
Yeah.
Or
Sorry.
11 sets.
We're
Oh, sorry.
friends,
We got lost. So let's go. Let's start with the first one.
Yes.
That was 2 years. Second one was Miami Township. Well, there was a couple little ones in there.
Okay, yeah. So you're talking. I come back.
Let's just go with 11.
December of 2007, apart. 2008, complete. It was like we were passing, but when we would catch up, it was like time would stand still.
Right.
And we would go because you were pregnant, and of course the baby was coming.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget the day the baby was born. I mean, I was at work walking, and I literally was just like I was talking to somebody on the somehow, and all of a sudden, just out of my mouth came the word Cameron. I was like, and they were like, "That's my middle name," and I was like, "Oh," but then come to find out, she named the child. I mean, I felt the whole thing.
We're trying to come up with a number.
But anyway, the number times of back and forth.
I'm gonna go with 11.
Because even that was, to me, that was a connecting, but it was a disconnecting.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I brought it up. So it's almost like we had numerous times of coming back and forth, but when we were finally together and then just physically apart and then together, I'm gonna roughly say at least 60 times. If
That's
not
a
more.
lot. And that very well may
And
be
it could have
right.
been just an argument, and it was
Mhm.
like, hey, it's over. We were unplugging shit, leaving
Yeah.
walking.
We almost knocked the whole wedding off the night before.
It's it.
The 2 nights before, until his brother came in and said, "You guys are getting married. I don't care if you hate each other." And
You're too much alike. Your husband done moved in with me. Yes, I
oh,
remember
my
that speech.
husband did move
Yeah,
in
by
with
the
me.
way,
Long story.
that's another part of the story.
It's
Yeah, her
it's
husband said,
big
why
love.
aren't you two together? So he moves in with my brother.
Big
and I
love.
But that's a different part of the story.
But that's a lot. So right around 60 little ones, but the big ones are right around 10 or 11.
Yes.
Big ones where it's final. We never want to talk again. And go fly a kite. It was worse than that.
Yeah.
All those things. So yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
So don't get discouraged.
So 60 is my final answer.
60s. Hilarious. So that means you actually like came together. If it was 10 times apart, you finally came together on your 11th time.
Yeah.
And so the reason I asked that question is because there are so many people who see whatever's happening in the current moment as the final destination, the final answer. And I've come to understand that that's just not true. That what's happening now, it's not whatever it is today isn't what it's always going to be tomorrow. But I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Like if you're in separation right now, then that's it. It's over. You're going to be in separation for forever.
That's man. I don't know how many times I thought that. I myself personally, like, this is it. It is over. Even the last time when we had our final separation, when we just made it final to the point where we both were literally seeing other people. And here we are.
I think I'm going to try to answer this without going too alien.
Okay.
But I know it's going to.
You know where I'm going.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I say it, you'll probably be able to translate.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, we both carry this energy in us from the other.
Mm-hmm.
And when we realize that, you know, okay, we're finally coming together, everything about what we needed to say to one another needed to be said. Because what was happening is she was trying to be something for me and I was trying to be something for her. Never did we ever communicate that. So what ends up happening is you keep trying to be something for this other person that you're not. And you hold them responsible for you turning into somebody you are not. And you're not even giving them the opportunity to learn this one thing that we could tell you for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, causes separation. Who have you allowed to love the real you?
That's the key to not being in separation.
And
Busted.
It's a very hard thing to swallow, because you can go through everybody you love in your life, but how many of them know you to your core and can love the real you? There is a barrier or something we're taught when we get here in the physical that helps separate you from everybody. And this is what you're fighting in this connection without even seeing it. But what if you were able to just speak and say things about how you feel about you and allow somebody to be there with you in the process? She kept trying to get me to go there and I never went there. And then when we finally, I'll never forget it, when we finally sat, we were at BW3s and we were sitting across from each other and we both were with different people and we just put it all out. And it was the most powerful magnetic thing we ever experienced. And we still experience it. Every time we uncover what we're saying about ourselves, we come right together. It's not easy. And we're really good at it now, but we don't use judgment in that space trying to be good at it, because we can still be triggered just like you guys can. But one of the most beautiful things is one of us somehow, some way finds their way back into that space, and the other person gets to just say what it is and meet the person in that space. The goal is, if you haven't allowed anybody to love the real you, how do you call yourself loving yourself?
A moment of silence for the truth. Thank you.
Trust without the truth. And you won't trust them because you're not truthing you.
Love you guys for this.
Where
Thank
the hell
you.
that come from?
Well, I mean, I have found that to be true for myself, that, trust, and you guys, we did this in our root camp. You told me trust and truth go hand in hand.
They're the same thing.
Yeah.
You will never, people can say, well, I'm an honest person. Yeah, but honesty means it implies the truth, but it's not the truth. You can literally omit parts and then telling yourself you're being honest. But if you had a choice between stating honesty or the truth, which one would you choose? Which one would you trust?
Thank you. Thank you. That's a great answer. All right. So that sounds like the answer to that question, the real question. My question was, how many times did you believe it was over? Blah, blah, blah. The real question behind the question is, what does it actually take to come together? And the answer you just shared was, it takes letting
someone love the real you.
The real you.
Wow, you're loving the real you.
Yeah. So that really means exposing the real you to yourself.
Well, yeah. Here's key ways you can find out if you're loving yourself, because we've seen, well, I'm doing all the work. I love myself and this, but then we can talk to you a couple of days later and you're going, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't matter. Some bad things happened to me in my childhood. I've gotten over those. How do you get over it? You're talking about a child, when a child gets hurt, who sits and lets that child get it all out? Yeah, we'll wait. There's spaces there where we actually had, when we looked at our family tree and we really talked about some things that we experienced with our families, we started noticing that some of the things that we trigger in each other come from there, not each other. And we put that on each other. So my father being absent, her father being absent, and I knew how to be absent. I mean, you start putting things together, you start going, Jesus, how deep is this connection supposed to go? Well, if you wanted somebody to turn on a big light and tell you who you really are beyond what you think, this connection is going to do that one way or another.
On occasion, when we're in session, Lee's third eye literally manifests itself, and it's doing that as we speak. If you can see it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That is bananas. I literally can see it. That is crazy town. I've never.
She told me it was there. I don't ever see it.
Wow. We are on one tonight. All right.
Yeah.
Or on one every day when we hang out with Lee and Sherry.
So the 3 or 4 things that we had in common, though, the biggest thing for Sherry's a huge communicator. She is very social. She wants to know you. She wants to know things about you.
Well, hang on.
I'm sorry.
That's not the question. I want to make sure we get it. When you have in your programs and in your own life seen that people do actually come together or they get back into communication, what are the 3 or 4 things that those people all had in common? Okay. What did they do?
Okay.
I miswrote that. That's not you, Lee.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
One of the key things people, okay, I got it. What do they do?
What do they have in common?
What do they have in common?
Okay.
Well, communication has to be.
Communication lacking or communication not done.
I'm gonna, but I have to say that, and let me clear the question up. Is this 3 or 4 things that they had in common, that the people that we've that we've dealt with who have come out of separation into union. What did those couples all have in common? Is that what you're asking?
That is correct. And it
Yeah.
doesn't even have to be full union. It can just be
Mhm.
out of separation,
Yeah.
back into communication.
And that is a great question because we watch this happen all the time. Once somebody goes through root camp, they're in separation, or this connection class has been an eye opener. But once we allow ourselves to love ourselves enough to let someone love us for who we are, we don't see people coming together until that happens in both of them simultaneously, right? And then it happens all the way across the board. This couple over here, this couple over here, this couple over here, this couple over here. What they have in common was self-love first. Self-love first. They love themselves first, and it has to be genuine. You can't wear a hot dog suit every day because you don't want to wear a hot dog suit every day. But if your partner, your twin, wants you to wear a hot dog suit every day, for some reason, every freaking day you get up and put a hot dog suit on, right? We do things to please or to show our twin or a potential partner, or whatever, that we love the things that they love, that we want to do the things that they want to do, right? We conform. And once we've conformed, then we get into a relationship, and then we get pissed off because we've had to make the confirmation. Mm-hmm. You know, we get pissed off because we've had to conform, and we've had to do this and do this and do this. And once those things are let go of, right? Mm-hmm. Self-love is definitely number one. I would go with number two. I'm curious to hear yours, but after self-love, communication has to be there. If it's not there, if you have one closed, one open, it's not going to work. If you have two closed, it's not going to work. If you have two open, but the other person's intentions are not genuine. Here's an example, right? I promise I'm not going to worry about the electric bill. I promise I'm not going to worry about the electric bill. I'm not going to worry about the electric bill, right? And but you see them going through the files. You see them looking at the electric bill, the electric bill, the electric bill, the electric bill. That's all that's in their minds, right? You're going to get sucked into that. You're going to get sucked into that. So communication about it first and foremost. Let's talk about the electric bill, right? Let's talk about it. Then you iron it out together, right? You communicate, you talk. How are you feeling? What's going on? Are you dreaming? Did you dream? What was your great aunt's name? Where did you learn to love chocolate chip cookies? How did you learn to paint? How did you learn to sing? Who taught you how? Little minor details. What's your favorite color? Learning about each other. Communication. You have to know one another, right? Yeah, those things are real important.
I would say the other two things is the understanding of judgment and what judgment actually is. This goes along with the world of opposites: good, bad, right, wrong. Those things in that space. If you can find your way into just removing those things, you'll change how you see things and you change how you show up. We have really kind of discovered that when we find that they are coming back together, it's because there's been some significant healing in what we call thought trauma, which is a thought that keeps repeating on and on the inside of you about the person you're connected to. But when we did some digging, we started to find out that those thoughts weren't necessarily about the person you're connected to. It came from those you're connected from. So what ends up happening is you start projecting everything that you think in connection based on where you've been connected from as a child all the way up to an adult. What's been lost in that is your innocence. So you don't really handle communication with the person you're connected to this deep with your innocence. You handle it with all of the other things that showed up after your innocence. So a lot of times me and Sherry can talk to each other as kids or children, and that significantly strengthens your connection. It doesn't hurt it, because if we don't talk to each other from an innocent standpoint, we end up looking for other ways to hurt each other, or we look for ways to disconnect in communication. So some of these things that we're talking about are very important for you to look into. You want to investigate the person you're connected to, but you haven't even investigated yourself. So the way that you're feeling about this person doesn't really need it that much more exploration. The more exploration is in how you feel about you. So if I'm sitting telling Sherry, I don't feel like we've made any significant changes to this thing, and I feel like we're not good enough, or I feel like this, she gets to listen to me with no judgment. And she doesn't try to change my mind. She listens. There's a difference when somebody listens. They listen to understand. They don't listen to respond. We've seen those two variables, and we see them a lot. And when you get somebody down in their rawness of where they've been hurt, and you're really listening to them to understand, you can ask better questions, because some of those questions lead you to your own answers. This connection is about the answers you already have, not ones that come from the outside of you, but the ones that come from inside of you. So when we see them come together, we see that as the huge difference in how long they stay together. We've seen it where they do the work for the other person, they get with that person, and then they end up right back where they started because they didn't capture what part should actually come from you. The part that should come from you should be the part of understanding. Just as you went through something, so did they. And how are you understanding what you went through so you can have the same energy to listen to what they went through and put in the same kind of love, the same kind of energy, the same kind of work. You can't be in union in the physical if you've not done the work to be in union in the physical with yourself. And it's not easy. We're not saying it's easy. We're not saying there's a book written, because everybody's story has something unique to it. But ultimately, we have to look for all of your disconnects, and you have to look for all of your disconnects. Then you have to accept them, even the ones you don't accept. And there is such thing as accepting your non-acceptance. You just need to find it inside yourself. That's how you find union. There are many forms of union. Don't get it wrong. There are many forms. We've seen them. We've seen it where because they were separated and that person stopped communication, this person was seeing that as union. But we had to find out the backstory why they saw that as union. And we found out that it was a missing parent. You know, when you get orphaned, or you get abandoned, or something happens to you at an early age, why would you trust connection after that? Especially if nobody sat down with you to help you through it.
Very profound. Thank you.
Yes.
Really appreciate that. Okay. All right. So, and I think some of what you talked about is the connection you're coming from and the connection you're coming to may pertain to question 5, which is describe the different types of mirroring that you see happening with twins that one can use to grow.
We just did that the other day.
Yeah.
Did you really? You made, okay. And
we,
so
we just did Hello Connected ones, was a video, a live what we did, but literally it just became a dialogue between me and Sherry, and everybody won.
I have to go watch it now.
Oh, well, you know,
We were having a conflict about, I don't know. No, it wasn't even a conflict.
Being in my head.
Yeah, it wasn't even a conflict. It was a really interesting discussion, I thought.
Yeah, it was. It was over loss of connection.
Yeah.
It was over loss of connection.
Yeah. And the different views that we have over it, which was it was intriguing, it was fascinating.
Yeah, but you want to see a kaleidoscope of how you can go through the emotions. It was really, I mean, we still are getting messages on it, and people wanting to go, okay, what the heck?
Yeah.
I know that you guys showed us something nobody's never seen. And
wow.
it's just hard to find vulnerability because most people believe they won't be loved in it.
Mm,
Isn't that backwards? The only way you can be loved is if you're vulnerable, right?
right. So, for those of you who are listening, I just kind of want to describe the concept and then I'll let them talk about, how they think about mirroring. Because you guys, everyone understands the concept of mirroring, but I'm sure you run into it in conversation all the time where people are saying, oh, my twin is running from me. So, I must be running for my twin. How could I possibly be running for my twin? I do everything to show up for this connection. I hear it all the time too. And so I'm curious, like I I have come to know that that's not that's everything's not a direct one-to-one mirror. Um, and sometimes it is. And I'm just curious how you would describe the different types of mirroring that you see happening, so that people can better understand their growth.
Okay. Simple way, right? I'll be simple. You ever gone and stood in front of the mirror and started picking yourself apart? Anybody?
I mean, I do every morning. Ooh, look at this new thing. What, I gained 12 pounds overnight. I got more chins than a Chinese phone book. I mean,
What? Sherry?
how many colors are my hair and what color is it going to be tomorrow?
Okay.
I mean, yeah, every morning I do that, right?
Okay.
But then I have to follow it up with
Yes. Now,
some love.
imagine putting that kind of energy into a mirror.
Mhm.
And then when you get in front of this person you're connected to, everything that mirror, all that energy you put into that mirror smacks you right back.
Right.
Because you start, anytime they can even look at you like, hey, and they don't really say anything, all of a sudden, oh, my hair's too many different colors for you. Right? It's almost like, well, if you're on the opposite side of the mirror, you're going to start being triggered by everything you just put yourself down in the mirror. And they're standing in front of you and they're bouncing that energy back to you. They don't even know what that energy is.
Right.
So that is mirroring.
And then they feel like they're being attacked by it.
The other way to look at it is if you had two magnets. You guys know magnets, right? I mean, they were on the planet before we got here, right? So if you took the magnet and tried to turn it around and try to make it go back, it has this resistance. Well, this connection is built like that. And this is also mirroring. So anybody that you've been connected to where you've actually had this, let's say mom or dad, you have some of this in between you, that shows up in this connection too. And the only way to do that, now remember, there's two of you in this connection. You only have to flip around how many for the magnets to come together. How many, Kay?
Only one. I'll never forget when you told me that.
Now, here's the thing. If that's what we're all made up of, how do you get there? Is what most people say, how do I get to that? Well, the mind noise causes a majority of the push of when the magnets are opposite. Your heart is where the pull comes in. So if you think of the head as the opposite resistance and the heart as the open resistance to connect, that's where you got to go. That's mirroring.
Yeah, and that's a very 5D way understanding to put that. Mirroring also happens in the 3D and manifests its way. And we'll give you a couple quick examples. And I'm telling you, we've got medical records. We do. There's two examples. And believe me, we could probably come up with 50 to 100. It's just insane. So Lee's not feeling well. I'm going to make this short. Lee's not feeling well. He asked me to take him to the hospital. I take him to the hospital. He's got diabetes. Okay, cool. I'm laughing because he's clearly the thin one. I'm laughing going, how am I the big one and you get diabetes? Right? Making fun of us. How do you have diabetes? You weigh 12 pounds. And so we get home. I'm laughing, carrying on. Of course, I'm taking care of him, making sure he's okay. But then 2 weeks later, actually it was about 30 days later, I'm not feeling well. I go to the doctor and I got freaking diabetes. I was up as a fly. I wasn't trying to hit you. I think it was bad on camera.
It's the snow.
I don't know what it is. But yeah, so first of all, let's just go ahead and establish the fact that he gave me the diabetes. So let's just go ahead and throw that out there. But very, 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 very well manifests itself
Yes.
when you are in union.
Mhm.
We could tell them the growth story, but
We could.
we'll just keep it from.
I think this, you hit it on the head though. So listen, it's really kind of what you keep repeating and saying to yourself over and over and over again. So an example would be, you're going to see the person you're connected to. You're going to see your twin. You're going to go see them, and you're telling yourself, well, they're probably not going to. They're probably going to cancel. They're probably going to cancel. They're probably going to cancel. You send out information in this connection, where they go, I'm not going to be able to make it. And now you get to be, I knew it, but not even realizing that your energy turned them that direction, because the energy we put into our thought turns into energy, right?
It very much, it happens in a positive way too, not just the medical thing. When he's at the store, and it just happened 2 weeks ago, my daughter was here. It's happened multiple times in front of my kids, but they're like, eh.
The potatoes.
And the potatoes, yeah, but I'll send him to the store. I'll forget something, bananas, wine, potatoes today, and forget to put it on his list. And so I just think about it, you know, and I mean, every now and then I'll be like, will you pick up potatoes? You can hear me pick up potatoes. And he walks in with the potatoes every time. He walks in with the juice every time, the bottle of wine every time, the bananas every time. It's insane. But it's
let's clarify how that happens, because I think that's the misconception, is that she sends me thoughts.
It's not thoughts, it's energy.
I taste it.
Yeah.
I taste potatoes. I taste the banana. I taste the wine. I taste. The senses are more connected to you than any thought is ever going to be.
Yeah.
This is your disconnect. This is your connect. So if you're in your senses, you're in this part. If you're in your thoughts, you're in this part, which is very disconnected.
Right. Okay.
Amazing. Thank you. So I just want to tell everyone I'm about to ask the last question, and then we'll move into open Q&A, where you guys get to ask the questions and find out what they think about certain things that you're experiencing. The final question here is that there's a notion within the larger community that union, I put air quotes around that, among twins is this kind of meant to be guaranteed just because you're a twin state of marriage partnership that's available once you have done all of your work on yourself. And if one's not in union with their twin, it's because they aren't doing their work. I'm curious, do you believe this? If you do, why? If you don't, why not? And if you don't, what have you experienced is actually true about twins and the concept of union?
I want to start with the first one is, you know, if they haven't done the work on themselves, then that's why. And I think that there are, there's obviously special or different circumstances, and every person we talk to every day, it's completely different, but it's the same. There's no other way to explain that. We all are born innocent. We are taught how to breathe and go to the potty and be manipulative and ask for things or cry or whine. We're taught these things. And we learn these lessons by watching people, whoever it was, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, mother, father, whoever, interact with one another, and we're brought up with them. So we take on those ways of life. We take on that toxicity. We take on the generational things, that the cycles that haven't been broken, right? So I fully believe that you can live a life without, taking in the toxicity, right? Most of us aren't able to, right? I know I wasn't. I know when I got 30 that I needed to be away from everybody and everything, right? I didn't know how that was going to happen, but the universe made a way. It wasn't the best way, but it worked. 2 years of solitude, right? Finding myself. Does that mean I stayed in that space? Absolutely not. 2 years, I was in the most peaceful place of Zen ever. But then after those 2 years and things started to get back to normal, then I was a heathen again. But that's just how it is, right? We come in and out. It still happens. We're in union, and we you're a heathen yesterday, I'm a heathen today. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It just, it goes back and forth. I want to encourage everybody to do their inner work. It's really important. But I don't believe in every single case it's the reason why they're not meeting. There's many reasons. And I'll give one example, of a scenario that we had run across many years ago. And this lady's twin was also her rapist. And they knew that they were twins beforehand. And not only did he try to rape her, but he also tried to kill her and her children. And, now he's in prison and he's got the mental health that he needed. But he's gone. He's not coming home. And, there's those special circumstances, the reasons that, people aren't together, even if he was not gone, we would not encourage her to pursue a relationship or a union with this person. There's a lot of ethical things that happen too. You gotta take into consideration from our standpoint, because we talk to people all day, every day in situations that would blow your mind. And however, I will say, once you do the extra work and you feel that love for yourself and you're not codependent or obsessed, that's when union happens. Union with yourself first, union with your twin. That's when it happens.
No, I agree.
Good? Well, all right.
Brilliant answer. Thank you. I'm really glad you spoke to it in that way, because there's the if-then formula can just leave so many of us feeling defeated or feeling like there's something wrong or we've done it wrong, that kind of thing. And I see a lot of that in conversations and in comments. And, I agree with you that there's work that has to be done, and the work isn't always the reason why it's not happening.
Very much so. I wanted to put this in there too, because I don't want to forget. I may have already forgot. Short-term memory loss is gone, but it's really not. It's here. But if you find that, oh man, I lost it. I did. It's gone. What were we talking about?
Crap, interrupt me next time. Cut me off, Sherry.
It's gone. It flew out the window with my memory of what we had with dinner.
We're usually doing sessions at this time, and this is a common theme about this time
What
of
are
night.
we talking about? It'll come back. It'll come back.
No,
It'll
we're
come back.
talking about how coming into union, how sometimes it's.
Oh, yeah. And I was talking, but I made a reference to the person, but there are all, here it is. It came back, ladies and gentlemen. It's right there. It took me a second. If this, I'm going to say 3 words. This is the reason. These 3 words are the reason most everybody aren't in union. Not good enough. I don't feel good enough. Good enough for this union, good enough for this relationship, good enough for this partner, good enough for this journey. I don't feel good enough. That's what's hindering. That's the block. I'm glad I remembered.
But the deeper answer to that is not found in what we're telling you. The deeper answer to that is what we're pointing to when we're saying you gathered information outside of you and put it inside. And your concept of looking to figure out why you tell yourself you're not good enough, I don't think there's been one person. Every single time we narrow this down and trace this back to somebody's history, to something they've been through, to find where they learned to say, I'm not good enough. It's really interesting. They all say the other 3 words that really make a lot of sense. I don't know. So literally, you can tell yourself you're not good enough, but if you can't point back to when you first started saying it, what was the circumstances around it, who said what to who, and who looked you in the eyes and told you you weren't good enough. It's really interesting. Most people say, I don't know. I don't recall. And then they want to go on like that's not significant. But think about how powerful that is. Telling yourself you're not good enough based on a space you can't even remember, recall. I mean, isn't that what's keeping you from union with yourself? Time. Time is the reason we're all not finding each other in this connection. We're all connected to the wrong damn thing. Time. It's hard to be present because we've got too much past, too much future, not enough presence. I mean, who would you be if you were connected to now? And then the now, can't you feel the person you're connected to? Truth is the truth, right?
Thank you. Wow. So profound. So that concludes my kind of general list of questions that I see flying through my world on the most regular bases. And now we will go into the open Q&A. I've just pasted for all of you how to contact Lee and Sherry in the comments there or in the chat box. If you're watching this live, you'll see this as a pinned post underneath the video and in the description of the video as well. Their work is profoundly life-changing in some of the shortest amounts of time when it comes to how your twin flame connection is informing your own growth. I have seen not only for myself, but also for others that in standing in work with them, whether it's root camp or any of their 90-day programs that are group programs, or if you meet with them live at any of their tour stops that they have coming up, if you sit with them and allow them to witness you in your own vulnerability, what comes forward is that magnet shift where you flip into the energy of connecting with self. You flip into that energy of attracting instead of repelling. And out of that, things start the process of forward momentum with your twin. So it definitely happened for me and my work for them, work with them. So I can personally attest to it. But I also, have seen it happen in their groups as well online. So we're going to do the open Q&A now, but if you know that you need this kind of more practical, more grounded support for your journey, please, I implore you, this is a great time. For those of you who watch my channel, I'm into astrology with Jupiter moving in planet of manifestation and luck, moving into the sign of manifestation, Capricorn next month. With the divine feminine Juno, moving into the sign of balance, this really is a great time to take advantage of practical tools in the 3D world, especially during this full moon in an earth sign. Get in the 3D, people. You have to do the work in the physical world if you want a physical union. I cannot overemphasize that. And they are chock full of great tools. So that being said, is there any other way you want people to contact you? I placed the contact page for the website in the chat. Anything else you want people to do to get an immediate touch today if they need support?
We definitely, you can email us personally at info at relationshipreinvented.com. We also use connect at relationshipreinvented.com, either one of those. We do offer a complimentary 30-minute session. So if you would like to speak for 30 minutes, we'll get you scheduled and we'll talk to you. Lee and I personally will talk to you for 30 minutes and get some of your questions answered that are personal. And we can discuss what you're going through and try to help you out. Email us. You can send us a message through our Facebook. Or not through our Facebook, but through our website to get those as well.
Yep.
All right. So we'll do, I'm thinking maybe 10, 15 minutes of Q&A, unless you two have energy and interest in going longer. You see some questions in the chat. You're like, no, I really want to focus on this and get to that.
Okay.
But I'll just start calling out what I see. Let's see. Sally Jones says, I know I'm more than good enough for my DM. I think my fear is that I don't feel worthy of doing whatever it is I should be doing for my life mission. Can you speak to that?
Yes.
Mhm.
You're good enough for your DM. How about your DF?
Explain.
When we can be good enough for one, doesn't necessarily mean two. So you can be, he might have to approach you from the divine masculine, and you could be in the divine feminine. But what if those are flipped? What if he has to be the divine feminine and you have to be the divine masculine? Any wounds that you suffered under masculine, based on, I don't know, your father, your mother, you kind of are going to show those up in this connection. So sometimes good enough may be one thing, you can be good enough, but there might be some other things where you can either feel he doesn't open up enough. For some reason, it seems like he shuns you away. Some of the observations you have. I guess my one question would be is, why aren't you in union? If you can give us just one statement on why you're not in union, I'd like to come back to that one.
Awesome. So we had some earlier, so I'll just go back and read those. Thank you, Sally Jones. If you go ahead and write the answer to that, Lee's going to give you some immediate coaching and support, which we love. All right. Big Baby asks, how did you find out you were twins?
Oh man, there's live animals running behind us.
Was that bunny? Yeah, there you go. You can see the bunny.
Here he is.
There he is.
Oh, that is so
Right.
cute.
Yeah, we have bunnies and butterflies and all kinds of stuff. You know, once you're in union, you'll be surprised how many animals just
things
come in.
are
and out.
attractive.
Just
Attract you. So it was interesting how we came about that. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but I kind of want to, we were feeling this connection when I was, as far back as I can remember. I felt like I had this box in me. I always called it my big love. It was the big love. I knew when I met somebody that I liked them. They were great. I'd love to be with them, but they weren't the big love, right? I knew that. I knew every time until I met him. When I met him, I thought, what the heck? Could this be the big love? But then, oh no. You know what I mean? I've done some bad shit, but I don't deserve that kind of karma. But clearly I did. So,
She really kind of did.
No, it was very, very, very deep. And it was kind of freaking me out.
Mm-hmm.
Really kind of freaking me out. So I took to the net like everybody else does, and I found some sites. I found some people. We messaged the first couple we saw, and we got crap back. There's no way you guys are twins, and I looked at you and all this stuff. So I was like, okay, I don't even know what that is, right? I wish we could throw the whole twin flame label out the window, but it's here. We can't. I was looking up some things, and I found something that really resonated with me, and I just kind of sent him a snippet of it, and he was like, well, that's interesting. What is that? And then we decided after a while that we didn't want to look at this stuff anymore.
Nope.
We were running across fluff. That's what we were talking about earlier. And so much negativity and judgment. It was rough. I knew, I felt it. There was something in me that there was no question at all. That I don't know about the twin flame, but the connection was there.
Yes.
Right? What we call the twin flame connection is there.
It was a overwhelming, absolutely astounding experience in consciousness. It was like all of everything I could think was just thrown out the window, and all I could do was feel. And I had never experienced that. I mean, I didn't judge myself. I didn't judge where I was. It was just like somehow, some way you blend into nature and you understand it in a way that you always known, but never told yourself you could experience. Every single time I came into her energy field, everything I thought just disappeared. It was like I found an off button for thought. Does that make sense?
It's pretty profound.
But that's literally what it felt like. On the inside, even just beyond that, I wish I could put words together to explain what it feels like inside, but there shouldn't be any. You don't need any words. It's almost like I want somebody outside to put words on the inside of me, and it still won't match what that feels like to be. You know, you grow up telling yourself you're an individual. You grow up telling yourself that you've experienced things by yourself. I used to believe in something called by myself. Since this connection, I don't have that belief anymore. Is that what you mean? When you're asking, how do we know we're twin flames? If one flame came together and there were two different colors in it, that would be significant to what I feel on the inside for her. How's that?
That's a great answer. Thank you. We've got a lot of other great questions here.
Did she respond, by the way?
Let's see what Sally has to say. When you ask why aren't they in union, Sally says, because he's blocked me.
What about, okay, my question is, what's divine about being blocked?
Well, hang on. Sally's offered a little bit more information.
Okay.
She said she had great parents, but my dad died when I was young.
How old?
Sally asked anything else.
How old?
Doesn't say how old just yet, but we'll see what else Sally says. But Sally, I would say, because we have a lot of other great questions here, get in direct touch with Lee and Sherry, because
let's do that. Yeah. Sally, why don't you email us at connect@relationshipreinvented.com,
because she gave us a really profound answer there, and she needs to go into that.
We will answer you.
Okay.
Yeah, and her dad died when she was 18. So yeah, Sally, email them directly and they'll coach you a little bit first, so you can get to the bottom of what's going on around the being blocked piece. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? What do you think of twin flame narcissism? That was an early question that came in. Do you even know what that is? I don't know what that is.
It's a labeling effect that people do to people without actually learning that it's a diagnosis that should come from a doctor that actually can help them through understanding, while they're literally, somebody grows up telling themselves nobody loves them, so they have to give themselves a lot of extra love, but that's not called love at all. So they become bitter and they treat people around them as though they're supposed to wait on them hand and foot. Meanwhile, you feel like you can never get their attention. So here's what's happened. That is somebody that has placed themselves and their inner child into boxes, and nobody can get to those boxes because you trigger something in them that puts them in those boxes. Not because of you, but because of them. Thing is, how understanding can you be for somebody who's actually going through that? Because there's always a backstory, and the person who's in that, the person behind that story is who they keep showing up as, but that's not even who they are. It's a very painful thing to be diagnosed. If they were diagnosed a narcissist, that's one thing. If you're labeling it from your mind to theirs, don't worry, they're going to turn around and label you just the same. Stop the labeling. It's not doing anything but keeping you in separation and complete disconnect. Label that they're hurt, and you don't understand that hurt, and you want to understand that hurt. Try that way. She called me a narcissist too. Don't get it wrong. Is it true?
Maybe.
No, okay. But once she actually learned some of the things that had happened to me, things started to make more sense. And she was able to create a space there where I could have that and not feel like I'm being labeled for it. It's about understanding, right? You want them to understand you, and You want to understand them? Well, somebody's got to go first. Twin flame narcissism sounds like another way to label a new way to get somebody separated. In our community, which people come up with this twin flame community, how many people are talking about separation versus how many people are in union? Are you noticing a common theme, like you've been planted with a seed to be separated? Why choose that? You got enough going on the inside of you without somebody's outside interference planting something in you. What would you want your twin to do if you were them?
Great question. Okay, so the revolution asks, and beautiful answer, thank you. I believe someone is my twin flame and have been awakened to what I feel is the connection. Does that does not mean that the other person has been awakened, right? She goes on to say, I know he, or he goes on to say, like, I know he exists, but he does not know me.
Why doesn't he know you, right?
At that
So
part,
it
it's
could
not
be
clear.
it could be a situation where it's a celebrity or somebody in the public eye. And
Oh, okay.
we deal with that type of situation a lot, where somebody is connected to somebody in the public eye in some way, shape, or form. So they don't know each other physically, but they know who each other are, or at least one of them does. We run across that a lot. We talk to people a lot who is in the same, actually the same situation.
My question I would like to ask for this, what's your connection like with your father?
The revolution goes on to confirm, yes, a celebrity.
What's your connection like with your father?
And for the follow-up, definitely email Lee and Sherry to go deeper on that question.
And there's one other person I'd like to email us personally too, Lennox. We have big experience in this and what you posted. So I'd like to talk to you personally.
So yeah, do you want to say anything about Lennox's question here? Lee, it says, I'm working through healing abandonment issues. I was adopted and I'm trying to help myself leave the chasing energy. How can I release the abandoned energy, whether I hear from him or not?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. We actually, it was interesting because we've actually worked with a lot of folks who've been through that kind of thing. We have one in particular that was always literally living her life in pain. And then when we really got to talk to her, we really got to go deep into it. And it took us almost about a year. But once we finally got there, you know what the pain was? She could remember the pain that her mother was feeling of giving her up. And she finally met her mom.
Mm.
Yeah. Sometimes that stuff travels.
Those abandonment issues run deep.
Yep.
They
and it's
really
connected
do.
to you.
It's connected. Yeah. So I'd like to just email it. We'll reply back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. So Angela's in a different kind of situation here. She says, sorry, I need to rephrase. So she thinks she posted earlier, but basically she says, her and her twin reconciled. Do you have any advice on, they've been in separation through a 6-year period. Do you have any advice on the reconciliation phase or reunion stage of things to have that go smoothly?
Yes. Have them come and talk to us. As I said, we'll talk to them
As
twins.
By the way, we do twins together and separate.
Yes, we do.
And if you're wanting to do like a root camp with your twin, and they're not quite ready, you start, and then we pull them in.
Yeah.
But we want to obviously talk to you first, them, and then you, and then them, and then we pull you together, right? Because we're very, very confidential in what we do and what we say. So we don't want to say anything, and until you're ready. If there's secrets and deep things, we want to help you work through them, and be able to come to the conclusion whether you do it or not. But
the biggest question that if we had to leave you with something, how have you guys resolved 6 years in between? because you can reconcile, but that doesn't mean those 6 years, that period of time, and what you must have went through during that time. How did you guys come together and really listen to each other and accept each other for what you went through?
Without taking a pen and piece of paper and writing down every minute to every hour, every day, what you were doing, who you were doing it with, and how you were doing it. And as human beings, as curious, jealous human beings, we want that. It's unfortunate, but we want to know everything that happened while we were in separation so we can use it. Yeah.
I think we want to know the feeling.
That's it. That's part of it. Yeah.
I think even as much
I want to know if you missed me as much as I missed you because you were out there.
That's where you get in the trouble.
That's where you get.
Don't make it a competition.
Oh man.
Don't do it. Don't make it. I missed you more than you missed me. I wanted to be with you more than you wanted to be. That's just looking for the world of opposites, which leads to judgment, which leads to disconnection.
That's correct.
So definitely just make sure that you guys give each other open space to really share what you really feel.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes that stuff just goes, okay, well, we're here now. We're here now. And then those little things start creeping up over the period of time.
Yeah.
And that's when it starts to really kind of start bleeding. And you don't know how to stop the bleeding because you guys didn't face the bleeding at all.
And it was great talking. We got a son and an ex-husband on the way in. It happens.
Yeah. Cameron's on his way home.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The ex-husband to come in and chill for about an hour, and then he'll take off.
Well, it was wonderful to have you two. I'm so appreciative
Absolutely.
of your
We are
time.
honored, and thank you
Yes.
so much for having us, and thank you for all the things you've done for us.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You guys have done more for me than anything. So I'll keep sending to people's your way.
Get your 30 minutes in, guys. Free 30 minutes. Just let's talk.
Yes. And if
Yeah.
you mention her, we give her a session and we take care of you.
Yeah.
So you get
Oh, well, hell, put my name down, y'all.
it.
I need some sessions. Come on. I didn't even know that was a thing, but yes.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Referrals,
we do
definitely. If you
referrals.
sign up for a program, she gets a session.
Yes.
That's really sweet. I really appreciate that, guys. I was very generous and wasn't expected. So look out for those of you who are listening now. Look out for all of the links underneath this video to some of their other content and their website so that you can directly reach out and get that 30-minute session. And then they'll help you figure out which of their programs is going to be the right next step for you. Okay?
I was gonna say, poor Realm of Light. Every time when she get to answer a question, she couldn't think of one. Write them down, honey, and send them to us in an email, and we will get them to you.
We got you.
I'm with you on the memory.
Such a blessing to have you guys here. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. Happy 11/11, everyone.
Happy
Yes.
11/11. Thank you guys all for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Really
was
appreciate
awesome.
it.
Take
Send
care.
you guys love and energy.
All right. Bye for now,
All right.
everybody.